Don't worry. I brought all these because Sue always brings books up, and she was just thrilled that I brought all these up with me today because I'm going to talk from them, but I'm not going to read them. But if you're interested in any of them afterwards, come and look at them because they're great. Just a little humor between us. You know, the topic this morning is we belong to each other, and I struggled all week with that because it's like, well, duh, yeah. What am I going to say about that? But finally, I figured out that what it really means is we're all in this together. Now, this gave me a whole new approach to this because, yes, we do exist in a relationship with each one of us. And we have this universal energy of spirit moving through us, but yet we're all individuals. So where do you begin and end, and I begin and end, and where do we interweave with everything in the universe? I mean, it gets kind of confusing because we all look so individual. So I thought, well, I'll share from three of my favorite people about this paradox of being an individual and yet being one, and we're all in this together. And that would be Ernest Holmes, obviously, our founder, Lynn McTaggart, who you may not know, and Bo Lozoff, which you probably don't know. But these are three of my great inspirational people. And so in The Science of Mind, my favorite place in the book is in the glossary in the back. So I looked up unity. What does Ernest say about unity? And he says it's one life that we're a part of. It's one intelligence that we use, one substance that brings our beliefs into manifestation. It's one principle. It's a principle which is a force in which all things are brought into being. And all of that is unchangeable. So if you got it, great, but we might want to explain it a little bit more. The V symbol on the wall here explains it if you didn't know that. It represents the unity of all life with the circle. And one way of explaining it is spirit's on the top segment and flows down in through everything that's within the universe. And in the middle, it's the law. And everything that we do, like our beliefs through the law, also called many other things, come into manifestation. And then we're at the bottom, we're in our body here. And so all three planes of expression, God is in all three planes, and we're all a part of that. So that's what that represents. We are one with the conscious mind of God. We're one with creative law in the middle, and our bodies are one with all matter. So we may look individual, but we're just swimming in this beautiful, I would call it the love of God. It's taken on millions of different forms, but the core of it is unity. We're all in this together. So if we're all in this together, what's really important is how we treat one another. Because there are principles that take our energy and they make things happen. And it has several names like karma, you might have heard of that. The Secret, the movie The Secret, and The Secret. The law of attraction, the law of cause and effect. All of these things explain how the law takes our beliefs and manifests it in one way or another. So we're all constantly thinking. We're all constantly creating. And it's those thoughts that we repeat and repeat and that we believe that we say we embody. And once they're embodied, we don't always remember they're there. They might be in subconscious mind somewhere. So we say love begets love, fear begets fear. And Holmes wrote, there are no successful people who go around with an attitude of failure. It's impossible. So Lynn McTaggart is another person I dearly admire, and she wrote 3 books that I have here. One is called The Bond, one is called The Field of Energy, and the other is The Intention Experiment. And last week she just released her latest book called The Power of 8. Now, Lynn is an interesting person because she's an investigative reporter. She's not some spiritual guru. And she loves to dig into things and find out the truth. Well, she's been studying the field of universal energy for many years. And when she began, she said, I don't want all these platitudes and mamby-pamby stuff. It's all one, blah, blah, blah. I want hard facts. So she spent a year traveling around the country, meeting with scientists, looking at their research. And in the bibliography of her book, The Bond, it's 21 pages long. That's how much research she did. It's just an incredible book. But in 2007, she began working with a large group of scientists who are specialists in consciousness research. And since then, she has created actually the largest global laboratory to test the power of mass intention, of group intention. Because her ideal is, if this works, certainly we can heal some major issues around the world. Well, so far, several 100,000 of her readers from over 100 countries have participated in her experiments through her website. You can too. They're pretty amazing. And she found that the effect of our mind on matter suggests that our intention has variable effects, and it depends on our state of mind. But she's proven this. That's the fun part about it. And the time of day we focus on our attention, and the place where we set our intention. What is the energy of the place where we're setting our intention? So in her laboratory, she has held 30 very rigorous studies of small groups, and 26 of those have had significant positive results. And you can read the research on this on her website. So her latest book, released just last week, is called The Power of Eight. And what she learned in her lab, she said on this video I watched, it kind of turned her ideas about intention kind of upside down. And I thought, whoa, I want to understand more of this. She said she was stunned that now she could scientifically prove the amazing power of small group intentions, which she calls the power of eight. Because as humans, we're constantly sending and receiving energy. There are photons leaving our body, photons coming in. They're energy transmissions that we are giving all the time. And she said if we're angry or happy, it alters the interaction we have with other people. Well, of course we know that. If we come in here angry, we're probably going to be sitting by ourselves. So we know that. So her first question is, what are you broadcasting? If you start the day with a power thought such as, I am pure love, I say that when I get up in the morning, I am pure love, and the rest of the day I'm criticizing people, I'm watching the news and getting mad, all these things, everything the rest of the day shapes our original intention. And so those negative thoughts impact not only us, but everybody we come in contact with. She found in her laboratory, because she studies plants, and the intention you have about a plant. She studies people who are sick. She found that one argument can delay a wound from healing for an entire day. That's the level of research she's doing. So when I was listening to her DVD yesterday, I thought it was interesting. A lot of what she was saying correlates with spiritual mind treatment, our form of affirmative prayer. And on her list for greater effectiveness, there were a couple ones I hadn't thought of before, but many of them we learn in practitioner training. She found that certain practices manifest our intentions better, such as having an intention space, like a bedroom or a couch or a favorite place in your home. We say that about meditation. Find your meditation space, because when you go back there day after day, just approaching that space, you go into a meditation, and the energy of that settles in that area. So she says, hold that vibration with your intention and have an intention space. I thought, well, that's pretty interesting. And she said, our intentions work better when we're happy. Well, of course they do. You wouldn't want an angry intention to come back in your face later in the day. But most of her tips we already learned in practitioner training, such as the importance of being in the present moment when you're setting an intention or doing a prayer. Making a heart connection with the person that we're doing a treatment for, or as she says, you're intending for. Letting the universe know what we want to change. The universe just doesn't have a list, like you screwed up here, do you want to change it yet? No. It's important to know what you want to change, and then it's important to rehearse how it feels when that happens. So we say, how will it feel when this happens that you want to have happen in your life? That's energy, it's moving energy. Believing in the process and not failure. As a practitioner, if we do a prayer for you and then we walk out and go, well, I hope that worked, we already discounted it. We have to start all over. So it's believing in it. And then moving aside at the end and just letting it be. Moving aside, stop thinking about it, because the truth is we're only the vehicle, we are not the power. So when I was done listening to the DVD, I thought, Lynn, good job. You confirmed Ernest Holmes' writings from 1938. Isn't that great? But Ernest said in the beginning of his book, someday science and spirituality will find their commonality. And I see this more and more, which is really wonderful. So now I'm fascinated with her work on the power of 8, because she found that when groups come together in a state of unity, many of their manifestations happen instantly. She's just like, how can that be? But when she monitored the groups, the people in the group, she saw significant brainwave changes when they were in a group, when they were holding hands. And when they were focused on a specific person was not as important, when they were focused on themselves, it was not as important or powerful as when they were focused as a group on one person. And so she said, the group's intention for a person is highly, highly powerful. Jesus said, where one or more are gathered in my name, I am there. So there's a lot to this. So I've ordered her book. It just came out last Thursday, and I'll share more about it when I can. But this week, Lynn, on her website, has invited everyone in the world to an American Peace experiment, setting your attention at the same time around the world with the intention to decrease crime in an American city. What a great intention. She didn't say the city. She will when this gets going. So if you want to participate in that intention, you can check out her website, lynnmctaggart.com. Well, the last person I highly admire when talking about we're all in this together is Bo Lozoff. Years ago, Bo worked with Ram Dass to create the Prison Ashram Project in prisons around the country, helping prisoners learn the value of spiritual practices. Bo died in 2012, but his family continues this business called the Human Kindness Foundation. I love his books. The first one is We're All Doing Time. You and me, we're all doing time. His second book was entitled Just Another Spiritual Book. He had a great sense of humor. And on the last page of that book, he wrote, after all the words, all the books, all the thinking, all the discussion, life once again presents us with the single next moment. What will you do with it? How will you exercise your free will? Will your choices bind you further or free you? As we bind and free ourselves, we bind and free the world a little bit more. We need to get cracking on our spiritual practices. I heard that in the James years ago. Do your spiritual practices. He's telling these preachers, get cracking on them spiritual practices. Don't add lies and hypocrisy to the world because it can hardly bear it anymore. Isn't that heartfelt? Just great. Well, I want to end this with a confession. I don't know how many of you get the Record Searchlight, but on Friday they published, you brought it with you, bless you. They published an article I wrote. It's called a Speak Your Peace article, 600 words. And the newspaper, they don't care what you title it. They pick their own title, and I wasn't too happy with it, but at least they put the article there. And I also sent it in a letter to 11 legislators, because I read last week in the paper that California is preparing to release thousands of more prisoners because of overcrowding based on their age. Not rehabilitation, not good behavior, but based on their age. They were going to be over 60 and the young people. They were just going to release them. And I thought, that bothers me. It bothers me because of a letter I recently got from the prisoner I've been corresponding with for 9 years. He asked me 9 years ago to help him implement science of mind in his life, to understand it, to study it, and help him be a better person. And we've been doing this. And he's in Missouri, and he's in for for murder. But he's a very intelligent man, and he's made amazing strides in his journey. But in this letter I recently got, he was surprised to learn something from a course he took in prison. I thought, wow, that's different. He volunteered to be in this 6-week course called Understanding the Criminal Mind. He wrote all the results and sent me all his homework paper. They discussed 5 universal fears, and the one he resonated most with is the fear of being physically hurt. Well, I could understand that in a prison. But when he learned that that was part of the mind of a criminal thinker, so he doesn't think of himself that way. He's advanced so much, he doesn't think of himself still as a criminal thinker, but when he learned that if that kind of fear of being physically attacked, it evolves over time into an attitude where I own everything, I own you, and I can possess everything. Now that's real criminal thinking, that I own and deserve to own everything. And he gave an example, and I thought this was very sweet because he sends me the nicest letters, and then I get this incredible thing he experienced. He said for over 2 decades, he's had a permanent table in the corner of the chow hall, his permanent table. From that point, he could see everyone coming, everyone going, nobody could sneak up on him, and he was comfortable with that. He was always ready at an instant to attack anybody that sat at his table. He was ready. Can you hear that criminal thinking? I'm constantly ready because I'm going to be attacked. Hell of a way to live life. He's been doing this for over 20 years. He didn't recognize that this was criminal thinking. So over the past couple weeks, he wrote me that he's been sitting at other tables, which must shock the heck out of everybody else. You want to sit at my table? Really? Yeah, he's been sitting at a lot of other tables, and he feels lighter, and he feels relaxed. And he feels, now I can release this unnecessary and ad nauseum energy of ownership. Wow, that comes from his gut. Ad nauseum energy of ownership. He realized he could release this burden. So it was this criminal thinking class that helped him even see that. He wouldn't have even seen that because it's so buried in him. So there were other questions. He said, well, you know, there are a lot of other things about the criminal mind, and I was interested, do I have any of those too? And he said some of the others that they told us about are treating people like objects. That's why criminals can hurt you without any remorse. A lack of fear of getting caught. Opinions based only what is fair and unfair to oneself. Keeping score. Manipulating others. Believing you're not a real criminal, you're smarter and more talented, you're the exception to the rule. He didn't find ownership with those, but those are aspects of criminal thinking. So it's so wonderful that his life has been blessed so much with these spiritual teachings in the Science of Mind, but the most deep-seated beliefs have only started to surface. And they started last year in a class he took, and the process they took them through is to eventually be disgusted with the harm that you caused others. Now, for a murderer, I think that's a really great thing to do, be disgusted with that. But it took a class for that to happen. So I was thinking about all this, and California ready to release thousands more people who don't understand this, maybe have never even thought about it, but they've been in with criminal minds for many years, and we're just going to release them based on age. So the challenge for our police and our community will be compounded, I think, is a good word. So I shared this with you because Michael's just starting to understand these beliefs, and it's never really too late to learn about the power of our mind. In another book that Bo wrote, he's talking to these prisoners, and he's a little hard on them. He said, the buck stops in this very moment right at your feet. Everything will definitely turn out right in the end, but we can drag out this misery or speed it up and heal it. I choose to do what I can to speed it up, and I pray you do too, because we're all in this together. Let's pray about that. We are all in this together. Everyone in this room, everyone in this city, this state, the country, the universe. We're all in this together. And we are a young world of people. Learning so much the hard way how the benefit of loving kindness can benefit the world, and how being kind to one another can benefit the world. But we're making strides. And I know with the support of spirituality, with the support of our own soul, with the support of God at the helm of watching us evolve in our humanity, it's happening. And I choose today to help it happen at a faster pace, help it happen in many more lives. It may just be here in this center. It may just be in the people who read the Record Searchlight. It may just be in the legislators who read my letter. I don't know. But I'm working at it. And I know for each of you, as you work at it in your own life, there is a shift in your consciousness, a consciousness of the world. I embrace this. I embrace the science behind it. I embrace the truth that we are all in this together, thank God. And so it is. Thank you.